sets the mood. I feel weird. I haven't done this in like a week.
I'm sure you'll get back into it pretty quick.
Kathy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I'm excited to talk some paranormal stuff.
It's my favorite subject.
Mine too, honestly.
Good.
I've always been into the paranormal ever since I was a kid.
And people that I've talked to, you always get that question, like, whatever made you? What sparked this interest? I don't remember ever not having an interest in it. And
Right.
the majority of people who are really into this, they don't remember ever not being interested in it. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things I just always remember it being a thing,
Yeah.
like spirits or ghosts or whatever, I always just, and sometimes it freaked me out, because I was one of those kids that get scared easy, like I got nightmares from like Chucky and all those like
so funny.
all those movies and stuff. But then I turned out to be like really into all that stuff,
Well, yeah. And I think if you get on the right track with it early and realize that it's really nothing to be afraid of, and once you experience that a few times, then it doesn't freak you out like it might at first. So
you don't find yourself ever getting like a little spooked whenever you go to a, like, say, even if it's a new location, you're not no fear whatsoever.
not anymore. I think when I first started doing it, I don't think I knew what to expect, but
Right.
at this point, having been doing it for like 38 years, it's a long time. And I just feel like I've experienced just about every situation, and I've never been hurt. I know some people, and I'm not saying that this isn't possible, but people that get scratched or pushed or,
Right.
I've never had a horrible negative experience.
Have you ever been around somebody having a negative experience like that?
Yes. Yeah, I have. My daughter and my oldest daughter, and she's pretty sensitive to, spirit energy, but we decided to go to Scotland together, and we both always wanted to go. So we thought, well, we'll just go, the two of us. And so we went down into the underground vaults in Edinburgh. That's what they call them. It's just like a warren of different rooms made out of stone. And Edinburgh
What kind of stone?
Yeah, and it was,
Limestone?
I tell you, it was a certain feeling down there, and the way things are built, they can absorb energy, they can
Right.
reflect energy. So this was quite a place at one time, like back in the 1700s. Because Edinburgh got so crowded so quickly, they were building these houses up like 9 stories.
Right.
And they don't look that tall from the front, but when you go around back, you see that they start way down here
right.
and go up. So the people there were generally people that, were didn't have anywhere else to go. So they went underground into these vaults. And it was, I had researched it before we went, and they had brothels down there. They had places that people could drink. They had
speakeasies.
Yeah, exactly. And they had this gentleman's society that they called it.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys were like Satanists, and they had ceremonies down there, and people would go missing, and there was talk about them doing sacrifices down there. So of course this is the kind of place I want to go to. I'm like, yes, let me go. I want to see what this is. And
the energy's got to be off the rails.
well, exactly, because it's all stone, and it was shut up for so many years, and then finally someone in their shop in Edinburgh realized that he had a door that led right into these vaults. And so then they opened them up and explored them. So they're empty. But so I said to my daughter, I said, let's sign up for a tour, and I think it'd be really fun. Now, she's lived with me for a long time or been around me. She knows that this was inevitable, right?
Right.
She knew that this was coming at some point. And she's always been great about going with me. And so we went down, it was with a tour group, and we went into one of these stone rooms, this vault. And the tour guide was telling the history and talking about it. And we got into it maybe 10 minutes, and suddenly my daughter Bree was standing by my side, and she was shaking and she was just white. And I said, "What is wrong?" And she said, "Well, I was standing at the back of the room and I was getting, she, like I said, she's sensitive, and I think she was picking up the energy
Right.
in the room." And she said, "Someone laid their hand on my shoulder, like in a comforting kind of gesture." She thought.
Yeah,
But
she thought, but
yeah,
still.
you don't know. And she just, it really upset her because she thought it was me. But when she turned around, I was way up at the front of the room and there was nobody back there with her. So whoever put their hand on her shoulder, whatever their intentions, she couldn't see them. And
Right.
I couldn't. And so she said, "I really want to leave this room." And I said, "Okay, well, let's wait until everybody goes out because I want to take pictures." So I get her safely to the hallway, and I turned around and I took 2 pictures of the room towards the front. And there was kind of a big archway there. And I took the pictures. And, I really didn't think much about it after that. She was really frightened. And our next stop was to find the Mackenzie poltergeist in the neighboring cemetery. So I think she just was so done. And I
Yeah.
said, "Look, I'm happy. I've enjoyed it. Let's just go back to the hotel and, have a drink and relax, and we'll be good." She goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
So we get back to Connecticut. I'm staying with her because we flew out from up there. And we were sitting reviewing the pictures that we took. And she said, "Did you see this one?" And I said, "No." "Which one?" And she showed me this picture, and that was one of the ones that I brought you.
Oh, okay.
That was what the picture was. Now, what is that? It looks like a person. You can see the fabric on the dress.
Right here?
Yes, that's like her dress and her arms and her face and her hair. And when I enlarged the picture, I could see that you could actually see the stitching in diagonal directions on the bodice of this, what looks like a dress. Now, it almost looks like she has a staff there, too.
See, to me, it almost looked at my first look at this. Here, let's put this under the camera here so John can switch. If you can see that one. It almost looked to me like armor.
And I have no idea. So,
Right. I can see what you're saying, too, but when I first looked at it, I thought, wow, it looks like armor with some sort of medallion in the middle.
That could be.
And then with the staff there, too, would
Which
almost
looks like
make more
it's got
sense.
the energy
Right.
on the
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
So my feeling,
So was this what kind of picture was this? Just a regular picture?
just on my Canon, camera, and so we
Were
had
all the other
little-
pictures like this too, where they were like kind of like
No, because I didn't take a lot of pictures. This was the first room that we stopped in, and because I don't know, I just didn't.
you can just totally see right there though, that green coming up.
Isn't that? Yeah, it just was. I have no idea what it is. Now, I see what you're saying about the armor because the fabric gives off a sheen. And
Yes.
it looks shiny.
Yeah.
And I can see almost like a lace ruff coming around the neck. So, I don't know. what
Right.
that
But you
could
can
be.
see like an arm coming down here too almost.
Exactly. And it's
Right.
almost like it looks
Put
like
it back
it's
over there,
bent.
John. You can show it again.
And so I know that was probably what she was feeling in there. Now, I didn't sense anything negative from whatever kind of a presence that is. But I said to her, I said, maybe I get this feeling of a guardian from her. That was kind of what my gut reaction was. And I said, maybe she saw how scared you were getting in the room, and then she put her arm on your shoulder to kind of calm you down. And
But it had the opposite effect.
it had entirely the
Which
opposite effect.
most of the time would, but
Yeah, and so, like I said, I've never seen a
Yeah.
manifestation quite like that. It's just, that was the first for me. But
yeah, it's clear as day. There's something there.
yeah, so who knows what it was?
Did you
I don't
see
know.
this one?
Yeah. So and we actually did go back again after that trip. And I wanted to go back down into the vaults.
Did
And I
you?
was with Bree again. She goes,
No.
no. I think I had enough time down there to last me. And she said, but if you really want to go, I'll go with you. So what a good kid. But we ended up not going. I said, really, I couldn't expect to just randomly get something again like that
Right.
that really challenged me as a paranormal investigator to try and find the reasons. I mean, a lot of things from back then weren't that meticulously documented, and you don't know if it was from the 1800s.
Right.
What if we're talking about hundreds of years before that, like a couple hundred years? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was one of the more interesting photographic captures that I had gotten. So that place definitely freaked her out. And I was kind of watching other people in the room, and some of the people were very nervous and edgy. And so
Right.
I have seen a lot of people that will react to it. It's just that I feel it too, but I just don't feel that it's threatening.
So would you say taking tours, like how much evidence, I guess, well, how much evidence? I mean, we all strive to get anything.
Right.
But like from a tour versus like going somewhere where you're kind of by yourself, like is tours like, because I could see some people being like, I don't know if I want to go on a tour where, like I did one here. You heard of the Felt Mansion?
I'm going to be spending the night there next month.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, did you rent it out?
Yeah.
Are they doing the same deal as last year where 10 people?
Yes.
It's without, oh
Yep.
my
And
goodness. I want to do that so bad.
I think I did it last year.
Did you?
And then the same group said, we just were blown away last time. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
In October. So, but what experience did you have
Well,
there?
when we went, we didn't do that. We went for one of like the tours.
Okay.
And then you had a chance to explore on your own.
Oh.
But you got the dad walking around trying to scare the daughter or whatever. You got, and they're having their fun, which is cool. That's kind of seems like that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But when you got, like me and my wife were like, well, let's go and we'll see what it's about. And then, it's like, how do we legitimize anything that we might?
It's hard.
Because there's so much commotion.
And I don't know what size group you had.
There was more than 10, that's
Yeah,
for sure. And
yeah.
then
In a way.
and the ballroom wasn't open
okay.
when we went.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, they were doing something up there, like renovating or something was
yeah.
broke.
Yeah.
So this was like probably 2 years ago or something when we did that. But
it's not a bad idea for a first visit to a location.
right,
And
I wanted to stay in the carriage house
that we got a
down
lot of
in the
activity
basement. There is a down in the basement area. That's where I wanted to wait out people to leave.
Yes.
And then as soon as they would all leave, and then another one would come down. I'm like, oh.
That's frustrating. I know what you're saying.
But if
because-
you had a group of 10 people that you're like, we're all going to go in on this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to respect what they're doing over there. And
it's a huge place. Like you
Right.
say, we're talking the carriage house, the grounds. We even got some
grounds.
activity in the grounds. And one of the good things about being with a crowd of people is the spirits that are present can draw energy from their
that was going to be my next question.
reaction.
Yeah. About, just everybody's different energies.
Yes. And sometimes
building.
that can be bad. It can screw up your
Right.
whole night, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
you don't
what
know
I'm
that
you
going
don't
in.
know.
No, that's true. But at least now, if you were to go back, you kind of say, I am being drawn to the carriage house,
Yes.
and I want to do that. So in that way, I think I'm kind of glad I did the vaults the first time as a tour because I could really check it out. And
Right, that's true.
I do tend to lag behind if I can, especially if I'm taking pictures or recording, doing audio.
You're the one where they're like, hey, come on, tours this way.
They see me coming and it's, her again. But yeah, I slept in Dorfeld's room.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was interesting.
really?
Yeah. It's a very cool building.
It is. It's so cool.
Yeah, lots of history to it, and that usually generates.
Imagine being her, like what her story was, how like it just kind of came upon it, all abandoned. Because
Oh,
my dad
yeah.
remembers it. My dad remembers it as being some abandoned place too. So yeah, just
And
being
what a
coming upon
job
like,
that.
wow, look at
Yeah.
this building. We should just buy this. That's kind
Yeah.
of how she explained the story.
And then they just
Start,
renovated it.
yeah, yeah. They started renovating it. Do you know the backstory behind it?
Well, I did, but it's
Behind the
been
lady, I guess that bought it because she's there for that
okay.
tour thing that we did.
And I didn't see her. We
Yeah.
just kind of had a lock code to get in and didn't
So you
really
haven't
see
heard
her.
of her story with the Christmas tree?
No.
So her biggest piece of evidence or whatever that she proclaims is that so they for Christmas time they set up all these Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And I forget which room she said she was setting this up in, but they were setting up a Christmas tree. And I believe it was like the rug that you'd throw down to go underneath of it.
Oh, yeah.
She'd put that down, and then there was one other lady there helping her. And so she called after that lady. She said, what? So she left the room, came back, and that rug that she put down was shoved all the way over in the other corner of the room.
Someone was a critic, weren't they? Maybe she didn't do
Yeah,
it right.
yeah. That's so she says, how the stories go.
Yeah.
That's weird. So she
Yeah.
grabs it, brings it back, and then she's hollering after the other lady again. Same thing happens. She walks out, and
Really?
it's in a different other corner of the room. This was a room that had like kind of like a side room off of it. She said it was all the way in there.
Interesting. Did that seem to
I mean,
concern her, or did she? is
yeah.
she
After
taking
that,
this
they
in
left.
stride?
After that, she said they left for a while.
Yeah, it is really strange the first few times you actually can see something like that happen,
Right.
because it goes against everything that your brain normally processes. And
Yeah.
I think that, again, the more often you see that, the more often you just get to feel comfortable with it.
Right.
Your experiences haven't been horrible. It was just maybe shocking or
Mm-hmm.
startling, but nothing bad happens.
You're right. Yeah, my experiences that I've like ever had have never been like that scary or anything. In fact, here at this house, even my wife will hear it too, which she didn't hear it for the longest time, but it wasn't until we were both sitting down here and all the kids were in bed,
Yeah.
and you can hear walking upstairs sometimes,
Really?
and you'll hear it go all the way across the living room. And I couldn't prove that it was that actually
you know
happening
your
until I
house.
had my cat down here. I had to bring the cat down because I was like, it could be the cat. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so I brought the cat down. And I was bringing the cat down because it doesn't happen every day, just randomly.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, I'm like, what is going on up there?
Isn't that
So I started bringing the
interesting?
cat down all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring the cat down every time I like come sit down here to do some work or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I
Interesting.
heard it again. I'm like, it can't be. It's not the cat.
No. No. And
So
just have you ever thought about how many times people in their homes, which is your haven, right?
Yeah,
Your home,
right.
your safe place. But how many people hear or see things that don't connect it to something paranormal? So many people are good at explaining things away because they have to live in
Right.
the place. And so a lot of times people don't really embrace the weird things that happen.
oh yeah, I'll embrace the hell out of it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Come down, pull
more.
up a chair, right?
more.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Like we would be the first ones probably to buy a haunted house.
Yeah, I think same thing in my house. And for me, it'll be, I hear, and since we moved in, footsteps coming up the stairs when my husband's downstairs and I'm upstairs, footsteps coming up the stairs, and my dogs, who will be in the room with me, will turn and look at the doorway because the footsteps always stop
You
at
can
my
hear them
bedroom
coming
door.
up. Wow.
So
They
the
stop
dogs
right there.
hear it. But there's never anybody there. Now I hear the steps coming up. Sometimes the door will come open.
But they never enter the room.
Nope. Always stops at the doorway.
That's weird.
Yeah, that is. Very considerate, I guess.
I guess. Yeah. Or stalk much?
It's like the dogs don't even
Doors
notice.
open.
Yeah,
Open, please. Thank you. Now I can watch.
oh, I know. It is.
I
It's
mean,
a little
imagine
strange.
being like a spirit that is on the other side, that knows they're passed on, made their choice to stay here.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. What do you think that's like? Being a spirit that chose to stay,
Well,
and you know what's going on.
yeah. In other words, you're dealing with an intelligent entity. You're not dealing with like a residual
Right.
something
For
from
sure.
someone who was there before. So I do strongly believe that we have that choice, that power of choice. And, it's like here in our day to day lives, we have the choice to do whatever we do. We make that choice, whether it's a good decision or a bad
Right, or
decision,
bad,
but
yeah.
we have the freedom to do that. And I think it depends on why they decided to stay.
Right.
I mean, I think I know the normal is just passing on because that's just seems to be the natural order of things. But I did a lot of investigating up in New England and in an area that was settled by the Puritans when they came over.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about New England, I mean, we think our little 1820 farmhouses are so cool and old, and
No, I don't. Not until you get over there.
it was like 1720 some houses that were just really really old. And I think I figured out that when we would come in, we had a particular case where there was a man in the house and he wouldn't leave, and the children would encounter him and they didn't seem afraid of him, but I would think that would be just so boring. It was his house at one time, but when he died, he just didn't move on. But I thought about the beliefs back then and how the Puritans who settled that area, how it
Yeah.
sounds so
What were they actually believing at that time?
well,
too.
they first of all just wanted to be able to practice what they believed without impunity from the
Right.
government, which was in England. So they were very by the book, religious people, very puritanical.
Pure. I was just gonna say pure. You beat me
No.
to it.
Very severe clothing, and they took everything so literally. So, I thought to myself once, what if this guy walked out of his front door just to go to work in the morning, whatever his job was, and his neighbor next door, the wife, came out of her front little fence thing because she was going to do whatever she had to do, and he looked at her and just smiled and thought, she's really, pretty, not thinking that, he would ever act on that. He had a wife probably and children and was very content. But to the people that were part of that faith, he just coveted his neighbor's wife. That's a biggie. That's like one of the 10 biggies. So he probably would think, this is what's waiting for me on the other side,
Right.
really stuck in that mindset because they weren't encouraged to think freely and for
Right.
themselves, right? So
Yeah.
why would he want to pass over if he thought he was passing into eternal damnation? And
Right.
So,
So basically, fear of crossing into that
yes,
light.
that's a big one.
You
That's
know,
really a big one. Or
like once I go there, like you don't know.
no,
Will I
none
ever
of
see
us.
this again? I don't. I
Yeah,
don't want to leave this yet.
it's comfortable for some of them. Like I think some people, honestly, it sounds crazy, but my experience has been that they don't always realize that they're dead.
Right.
And that takes a while for them. I think that they do move on, but I think for a time they're just confused. So like if a car full of kids are out partying, as kids will do, and
Yeah.
they're out drinking and having a great time and driving home and probably driving too fast, and
Something sudden like that.
yes, and where they just on impact, if they were killed, the people in the car, I think that their first impression would be of seeing all of this activity around their friends and wondering what's going on, seeing an ambulance, and then going up to ask somebody what happened. But the person looks like they don't even see you. They look right through you and they don't answer. That, and if they're young, because they don't have a lot of life experience yet. So there just are a lot of things that go into that, it'll just take them a while to figure things out.
Right.
And like I say, the normal order, I think, is for them just to move on. So that part of it, and there are other issues. I mean, people that might take their own life, for example. Those are always so sad to me, because that's not a decision you ever make when things are okay.
Yeah, you're not in the right frame of mind.
No, not at all. And so, it's an impulsive act a lot of times, and I think those people seem to
almost like
hang
instant
around.
regret.
Yeah, that holds them back.
Yeah.
Like they see their families grieving for them.
Well, even right away. I mean, what if nobody's around?
Well, yeah.
You kill yourself.
Yes, that's true.
You're not found for a day or two. You
know.
immediately are in that, that purgatory, that limbo. Like, what were you going to go here? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Instant regret. I want to stay.
Yeah. I
shouldn't have done that. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
And that's really common. And so it's common because of that for people that investigate paranormal situations. If it's a suicide, it's usually pretty likely that they're still there.
Right.
Yeah. So that's always a tough one. And, some people just enjoyed their life so much, they just don't want to leave.
Right.
They don't have the understanding of the spiritual nature of what our purpose is. And this is just like a halfway stop, or there is something waiting. But they want to go to the bar and hang out with their friends still.
Yeah.
And the guys that are really the life of the party are the ones, bars are full of ghosts. They are. I mean,
like to pick a local bar. There's probably a ghost there.
Oh, I bet the farm on it. Yeah. And they're innocuous. They don't cause any problems. I mean, they're having a good time. But some of them will still, I've heard from different bartenders in places usually that have a reputation for being haunted, but there's one in Allegan. It's the Grill House.
The Grill House? Okay.
Yeah, it's in Allegan, and it originally started out as a boarding house for lumberjacks, because lumbering was the big business back then.
Yep.
And there were some of the lumberjacks that were staying there, but they would go down to the bar and they'd get drunk and they'd start fighting. And there was, they think, one particular lumberjack that was stabbed during the fight. And it seems to be his ghost that people see there. And they have found, like, there will be a bottle of Jack Daniels on the end of the bar. And
nobody else
and
sat
nobody,
there?
no, because when they closed it up at night, there are so many other things that go on there as well. It's not just this.
Yeah.
But so he's commonly, he's called Jack because no one knows his name, but he was a lumberjack. And the belief is that he was buried on the ground somewhere because they wouldn't have known who to contact or anything. So he seems to be around, and it always involves Jack Daniels. And there was another place that I went to recently, but they were talking about a man always sitting at a particular table, and the bartender or the server would come and take his order, and it was always a shot of Jack Daniels. And when the server came back with the drink, the person wasn't there. And this has happened repeatedly. So I said to the bartender when I was there, what is it about Jack Daniels? I mean, I think it's good, but I mean, why is this like the ghost's drink of choice? And and then he said, well, it's been around a long time. And it has. I mean, so that probably, they didn't have, obviously, the variety and the choices we have for what we want a drink. It
Right.
was
It was Jack Daniels.
it was probably
or
Jack
maybe
Daniels.
one or two other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have a plethora of options
No.
above
Oh,
the bar.
no. That probably would have
You know.
confused them, and they would have just not known what to do.
What's a pale ale? What is all of
What's
this
that?
stuff?
Yeah.
You know-
What is an IPA?
Yeah,
And
an
it-
IPA.
Yeah, it's so true.
How many hops are in this? You know,
Yeah.
it gets so technical now.
Yeah, it does. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's, I just like taking a different look at things. And your question is so good about why would they not pass on? Another reason seems to be that there are a lot of younger spirits because I think, I know when I was in my teens and I was younger, I really never thought about death.
No.
I just couldn't relate to that. And I had grandparents and I would think, boy, for me to get to be that age,
That's
that
a long
that's
time.
a long time. I couldn't even relate to that. So when they do die, it's so unexpected. They're so unprepared for it.
Right.
That again, there's that adjustment time. Whereas someone who is diagnosed with a terminal disease, they know they have a set amount of time. They can adapt to it. They
And
think
you
about
learn
it.
to
And,
accept.
and then they tend to make a really smooth crossing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it's a very individual thing. For as different as each one of us all are,
Right.
your way of handling that transition is so different from person to person.
Yeah.
You know?
I could just the way I am, I could see myself being like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah.
I'm really not quite ready.
Yeah, I need to reanalyze everything that's going on here right now. Okay, I just died.
Yes.
There's a light there. I
Am I
could
supposed
stay
to-
here. Did I learn all my lessons? Because that's what we kind of believe. We kind of believe
I
you're
do
here
too.
to learn a certain amount of lessons. If you die and you have not learned all the lessons that you were supposed to learn, then you will come back.
But I believe, and I think that's absolutely what I believe, but I think each time we're given the choice of whether or not we want to come back. Again.
Right, yeah.
Because this is hard. I think this is really hard for a spirit.
I think if there was hell, like this is kind of it.
Yeah, it's hard.
You know?
It's like,
I don't think there's some place where you just
No,
go and
no.
burn and whatever.
we
and
create our
yeah,
own.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're right. I think I think of it as being, when we make that decision and it's presented to us, do you want to go back? Because that's the hard way to learn the lessons. But once you learn them, you've got it. But
Right.
it's not a cakewalk. So
No.
would you rather stay here in that other place, whatever people call it, but
Yeah.
the spirit world, then you can still learn and grow. But the intensity with the way it would be if you reincarnated, that I can't believe I made the choice to come. I mean,
Right.
honestly, knowing how hard it is and what we go through, who knows? But sometimes we come back, I think, for someone else in our family or a friend, and we know that they're going to have a tough time. They're going to need somebody that they can be there to support them and help them, sort of guide them through it, so
Right.
to say. So yeah, it's definitely. I always tell my kids, everybody thinks that they are owed a happy life. And that's just not true.
No.
No. And nothing is
No.
ever fair. You got to learn.
Some
that
people have
one.
more lessons than others.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you will complain eternally about the cards that you were dealt, but until you learn
That's right.
from those lessons,
That's right.
you will just keep getting that same shitty deal of cards.
Yeah, and I can remember thinking a couple of times during the course of my life, like if I'm in a difficult situation that I know is going to just be horrible to go through, but I have to go through it, I think, get it right this time, because you
Yeah.
don't want to have to come back and do it again. And that's not a good reason for living a good life and being a good person, but we have to remember, again, what do you think you're doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it's a question
yeah.
that nobody knows the answer to.
And that's true of a lot of paranormal stuff. We really don't know the answers.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to say, like, here's some evidence. You know, that's why I always try to, like, paraphrase or do something, you know, like, it's not, like, this is what I would think is evidence. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That's what I would say. You know, like,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It's hard because then you have, so that kind of brings me to, like, so you are the creator, or you run the Michigan Paranormal Encounters Facebook group?
Yeah.
So did you start that?
Yes. And I started as a small group when we moved back to Michigan, like 15 years ago. And, you know, your focus kind of changes over the years. And so I'm still very involved with it, but I don't do a lot of private home investigations, that kind of thing anymore. But that taught me the most, I think, was actually getting out there and going through this with people that were living in a home. And
Right.
and that really, it just, you know what, it just never gets boring. Everybody laughs at me because I kind of have the attention span of a fruit fly. I don't
Yeah,
stay
I'll
focused.
forget what I'm talking about while I'm talking to
Amen.
you.
Yeah. Same
It
with
happens
me.
like how many times, John? At least two. At least two times. I'll be like, what was I talking about? I had
me
a
a
point
hint.
here. Like, this point was supposed to be about so what do you think about, what is it called? Pareidolia or
Pareidolia.
yeah. So some of these posts on here, I'll be looking at it. I'm like, what is going on? Like, are you just like fabricating something in your own mind? Are you wishing something would be happening? Am I just not seeing what you're seeing? And I'll go through the whole thing sometimes, and people are like, you know, sharing their cropped pictures of the picture. Like, it's right here. And then I'll come across you. You're like, I don't see anything.
Well, and
Oh my God, that's great.
there's-
I don't see anything. I'm sorry.
but you have to be honest. If
Yeah.
someone's going to ask
Yeah.
you for your opinion, you say, you know, I may be wrong, but I don't see anything. And there's nothing harder than telling someone who shows you a photograph that really that's nothing paranormal. Your brain, it's chemistry. It will try to make sense.
It'll
of
try
what
to
you
make a
see.
face out of something
Exactly.
that isn't
And
even
that's-
there.
That's just us being human. But people, they'll say, no, you're wrong. And I said, well, then why do you ask when,
Yeah.
you know, because they want so badly, some people, I think, to believe in it. And
I think that's what it is too. Sometimes they're like,
Yeah.
maybe they're hardcore. They watch Ghost Adventures all the
Yes.
time, and they watch it, and then they're having something.
and it could
Going
be.
on.
Like, that's why I can say this is
Isn't
my
that what a
opinion.
poltergeist is?
Yeah.
Really, it's just your energy. Like, that's why they say a lot of poltergeists happen around like teenagers and stuff. You might have
Yeah.
because they just energy is just.
Oh, yeah. And
You know,
they-
either it's testosterone or whatever's
Yeah.
going on. Just
and
know.
the spirits feed off of
Yeah.
that, you know. Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, why are you just so game on it that you're manifesting your own things? You know.
That's another reason. But like you said, how can we say for sure? Because we don't know. We
can't say for sure. I can't tell you what,
No.
you know, especially without being there.
Yeah.
And I just have
No,
this picture.
There will
you
be
know.
somebody that would look at the picture of that, which I couldn't tell you what it is or who it is.
Yeah.
But they could say, oh, that's just camera reflection. It's a glare. And I can't tell you 100%.
Because I can't see, I can kind of see, but I can't see the face. I can see where it
It's
is.
a darker color. Yes,
see,
I don't
and
see
I can
the
see a crown.
features.
I can see some sort of crown type thing there.
Isn't that interesting how, yeah, I don't see features, but
I don't
it's
see
not-
features. Yeah.
But it's blurry. It's
But
like
there's
the
something
energy
there.
blurs things too.
Yeah.
So
That's why I say it's like, why is every picture like weird or like just like pixelated?
yeah, and I think that in a lot of cases
We have
it's
such-
the energy.
It's kind of like what Neil deGrasse Tyson says about aliens. He's like, because he's just a total non-believer
In aliens.
in aliens. You know Neil deGrasse Tyson? He's an astronomer,
Oh.
black guy.
Yes.
Smaller,
Oh, of course. Mustache. and-
Yeah. Great voice. Like,
Yeah.
we went and listened to him talk in
Yeah.
Grand Rapids before, and I really like him. But he's
Yeah.
just totally against aliens. No, he's no way in hell. Is what he says. He's like, at this day and age, out of all of our cameras and all this high tech equipment, what can't you get me one clear picture? Why is every picture
He's got it
pixelated or blown out? It's blurry, or I didn't have my phone, or I didn't have my camera, or
Yeah.
there's always something, but they're there. That's
Yeah.
what he says.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I guess I can't argue that part of it. I still think that they're a real thing. Same thing with this, with paranormal and spirits, but it's like every picture is like just looks like crap. Like, where's the
Yeah.
good picture?
Yeah. And my point is if you're feeling things,
Yeah.
you don't need to prove to anyone.
No.
I mean, because you can't. You know, when I see things or I see spirit or whatever, I could never prove to you what I just saw. Now that's where it helps once something happens like that you do your background research
Yeah.
and of the location and
Immediately start your recorder.
yeah.
Try to catch something.
Exactly. And I think recordings, audio recordings are kind of my favorite way to document.
Do you use spirit boxes?
Yep, I have.
What do you like better, EVPs or spirit boxes? Do you like just using the recorder or the one that's like?
I've been no.
No.
I'm still old school.
Yeah.
I mean,
Most people say that's the best.
yeah, and I trust more my own intuition and where it leads me than what a piece of equipment will tell me. But I can't deny that when there is a lot of energy, the equipment reacts to it. So I think it's good, and you have to find what works well for you and what you can identify with, because that's half the battle right there.
Right. Yeah, you can't deny, like, if you're sitting there with one of those boxes and you're asking questions and you're getting answers and they're like,
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh, yeah.
Like,
And I've
you
had
know.
really interesting experiences with them too. I think we don't give those spirits enough credit for knowing how to use what's at their disposal to communicate with us. And
Right.
an example would be like, why do people think cemeteries are so haunted? Well, my thoughts are that the spirits know that we think that, and they'll be where we think they'll be because a lot of them are trying to make a connection with us. And so they'll tend to show up
Okay.
where we think they might
That's
be.
different. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So
good
I
thought.
don't know. But again, we come up with guesses and opinions, but
You been to Mouth Cemetery then?
yes.
You think that's active?
Yes.
Me too.
I mean, my own, just the feeling that I got in there. And
No, nothing happened, but just your feeling?
but very strong. I mean, it wasn't.
Oh, it's so creepy out there.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm
The one
wondering
little
this-
light by the bar you park.
Oh my gosh. I know.
So me and my buddy Rich, we went out there, and it was like late October, mid October, something like that. And I had the recorder out, so we were going around recording. And at one point, I think I just asked. I said, "Well, if there is anybody here, can you maybe do something to let us know? Like, you know, you could."
Yeah. Give us a sign.
Give us, yeah, like
Yeah.
I said, you could throw something, or you know, tap somebody, or do something, you know. And we waited around, and then from off in the woods, we heard like a rock go, shoo, and it like
Really?
landed by us. We're like, "What was that?"
Oh my God.
So we stopped and we said, "Hey, can you do that again? There is a gnat in here. I think I got it." Been following it around with my eyeball, and I said, "Hey, can you do that again?" That was cool. Can you do that again? And then, it's like 5 seconds after that, here comes another one. It sounded really close. And we're like, "Holy crap! What?" And we
Don't
went,
ask again. You may get hit.
yeah,
with
we
the
may
next
get
one.
hit. Yeah, we went out to the old one little light there after that. We're like, whoa, dude, holy crap. And when we listen to it back, and you can hear the rocks being thrown.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, it wasn't our imagination.
No.
We definitely heard it.
No, and that's why it's good to like keep a recorder running when you're visiting someplace.
Yeah. It's a lot to go through, but you need it running.
Yeah.
You need to.
And you're
go
right.
through
You
it
do
all.
have to take the time to go through it thoroughly because a lot of them are very quiet and they're not.
You're not going to get a Class A EVP every time you come out.
No. But
You know.
what it's really interesting to me too. The thing with the recorders, they're really my favorite way of documenting evidence. But I still use my cameras and my
Yeah.
meters and stuff. But a long time ago, when my youngest daughter was at Western, I had to go and check out an old building in Kalamazoo. And my first step before an investigation would be to go through the house, do a rough kind of a blueprint of how everything is laid out, what things are where. And so I was at that stage, and she came with her boyfriend and with her roommate. And I said to her, "Here, take my recorder. You know what to do." And she said, "Okay, you didn't get it." He flew
I
out
know
that
he
way.
flew out. There's one little gnat flying
He's
around
gonna
here.
torture you.
If you're listening, you're wondering what is going on. Yeah, there's like a gnat flying around here. It's barely rattles.
That loves Kyle.
Yeah, I know.
Because it hasn't come over here yet.
You should see me if I don't wear bug spray. I got mosquito bites all
Oh,
over. Bugs like me.
Yeah, yeah. I shouldn't have said it wasn't coming over here because here it comes. Anyway, so her boyfriend was definitely a non-believer. I mean,
Oh, he's just
he
total
was
like nah.
an engineering student, so he's
Oh,
the way they
just
think and
pure logic. Doesn't
this
make
is
sense.
not true at all. So she gave him the recorder. So he had it. It never left his hands the whole time. And I could hear them throughout. This is a big old house. And I could hear them laughing. And we're just having a great time. But to the people that built that house and lived in it initially, that would be considered very disrespectful.
Right.
Like you are not supposed to carry on like that and
Right.
whatever. So I said to Lucy, you need
In
to do
our house is
Yeah.
what they would be thinking.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and they do always seem to see them as their home. So
Yeah.
so I finally yelled up to them and I said, "Guys, I'm done. So why don't you meet me in the parlor or whatever?" So I guess her boyfriend turned on the recorder and I was in there by then, and he was really interested to hear if there was anything on it. And so they start the recording and you can hear them laughing and joking and running around. And Lucy says, "So is anybody here today? Are you around? Can you say something to us?" And you hear this gravelly voice saying, "Get out."
Really?
And his face just went white. He knew
Flush.
no one else had touched it. So it was really hard to say this has been tampered with because it hadn't left his
It's in
hand.
the engineer's hand. Yeah.
Exactly. And he knows how mechanics, he's an electrical engineer. So he knows. And which that was, I think, freaked all three of them out.
Yeah.
And totally, not Lucy, not my daughter so much, but the other two were just very upset because they knew that thing or whoever that was in the room with them.
Yeah.
And so the recording continues to play, and there's no more guttural yelling or anything. But suddenly I hear this voice say, and this was so creepy. I still get a little creeped out just because it was creepy. And he said, "Kathy."
Really?
On the recorder. And I'm thinking, I don't like it when they say my name. I really don't
Oh,
like that.
that is creepy.
So her boyfriend said to me when we were leaving, he said, "Please don't ever invite me to go to one of these things with you." She's married to him now. So,
Is he still a big skeptic?
Well, not as much.
Not as much.
No, he's
It's
still
still there, but yeah.
Can't
he's,
explain what happened that day. But her roommate, I think it kind of upset her. I see why it would.
yeah.
Because you can't explain it, and immediately your mind goes to something evil, and it's
Yeah.
not. But
No, evil spirits. People want to go to demon right away, but there's
that's
assholes in life,
and they
and they're
don't
gonna
change.
be an asshole when they cross over.
Absolutely. And I think demon, it's a term, and it's a religious term. So I get it if you were raised in a religion where there are angels and there are demons, and that's how you would explain good and bad and yin and yang and everything else. But I don't like that term.
No,
I just
you
don't.
never. Yeah, you don't think there is anything that is demonic.
And I think they'll try to be what will scare you the most, because they feed off of what they get from us
as in
when
who?
we react.
They as in who?
Demons.
So you do think there are
No,
demons
I just think they're really negative spirits that
that will feed off of what
Right.
you are fearing the most?
And
do you think these are like elevated spirits somehow? Do they know, or do you think all spirits know what?
oh yeah, I think the intelligent ones, they know
Any
what's going
intelligent
on.
spirit, you know,
Yeah.
even if it's a little boy playing games, they know exactly what you're thinking or kind of like
Yeah.
what scares you, you think?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Well, what scares you probably scares most other people. So I don't.
Right. That's
I mean,
true.
it tends to be the same kind of thing, like appearing or touching them when they're trying to sleep. Or I do though believe that there are energies that have never been in a body. You know, you might call them earth spirits or but they've never taken the path that we have. They're totally a different group. And, you know, I wonder sometimes, you know, because you hear people talk about demons growling all the
Yeah.
time. You know, I don't know. I just think that it doesn't necessarily have to, we don't have to know exactly what it is, what it's called. Demon, just that word, people's minds go to the worst possible place.
Right.
You know, they're not going to look at this as some confused spirit or somebody that, you know, maybe it's your aunt or
It could be.
who
It
knows?
could be.
You just don't know. But yeah, and I know a lot of the shows are based on the whole demon thing.
Oh, like the cable
Zach,
shows, like
Zach Bagans.
yeah,
and some
Zach
of them.
Bagans. It's an entertaining show.
And
It really is. Like
And-
if I want to sit down and I want to like watch something spooky or if
Yes.
like it's an entertaining show.
Yes.
Am I gonna take everything from that show as
gospel
that's
truth.
no?
No.
Am I gonna denounce everything they show on there though?
No, you can't
You
because
can't.
I've seen things that I believe really happened. But if you've got to fill an hour, and then with that Harrisville haunting, you know, the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
They did last year like a 2-hour Halloween.
Oh, did they?
I thought
Ever since they went to, I haven't had cable in a long time, so I haven't been
Okay.
watching them for a while. But now they're on that streaming Discovery Plus
Oh,
or something.
okay.
So that's
Yeah.
like the only place you can watch them now too.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, everything's going to streaming now.
Yeah, I think.
Everybody's got a network.
Yeah.
You see how quickly that changed? They're like, oh, cut cable, go to Netflix. Now every network station
Yes.
has a streaming
Yes.
service.
Isn't that funny? And you're talking to someone, you know, I'm a grandma. I have 5 grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just also kind of weird for me because when I started investigating, there was nothing
Yeah,
like
right.
that. Nobody.
Nothing.
In fact, my husband would take me to, he worked for Pfizer.
Okay.
And so he's a scientist. That's why he and I just don't agree on any of this stuff. But he would
right.
have these parties, like business parties, and as a spouse, I would go too. But
Right.
these were all other scientists, right? And
Yeah.
they are very, like the engineer thing, you know, they have a really definitive way of approaching this was, and
Yeah,
probably
I
that
need my
it's bullshit.
variable. I need this and that.
Yes, you got to have a
A control and
exactly, and that is not what I do. I'm not like I say, I'm not trying to prove anything. But
Right.
we would go to the party, and he would be very nice and introduce me to the different people there.
Yeah.
And they would say, "So, Kathy, what do you do?" I wanted to say, "Well, I've got 3 kids. I coach basketball, soccer. I'm the PTA president. I mean,
yeah.
and I researched the paranormal."
Yeah.
And they would kind of give me this little patronizing smile, you know, like,
Oh, yeah.
but Kyle, I kid you not, before that party was over, there would be 5 people at different times that took me aside and said, "You know, my uncle had something happen to him, and this is what it was. What do you think that was?"
Yeah.
So back then, it was like this dirty little secret.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was.
I just have a big mouth, so I talked about it to everybody all the time and never felt I had to hide it
Right.
or make excuses. So, yeah, different people just will react to that very differently.
Yeah, especially what are those settings too? Yeah, they're gonna
Yes.
pull you aside.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody else to know this.
Yeah, and
but
I understood that they did have questions because I think a lot of people did. So when
Right.
Ghostbusters came out, the movie, the original
Oh, right.
one,
Yep.
was back about that time. But I thought that was the coolest thing because here were these guys that were looking for ghosts. I mean, and they were actual Ghostbusters, and
Yeah.
but that was all we had when I started. There was none of this other stuff. So my point being, to go back to it, is if you have to put on a television program for an hour up to 2 hours, depending on it,
There's lots of time to fill.
and paranormal activity doesn't happen like that.
You get like, you say you got 5 things of evidence. It's going to be like 30 seconons of your show.
Exactly. So how do you entertain people for 2 hours?
Those
Well,
B-roll guys getting all the creepy footage.
oh my gosh. And then, like,
I heard that they're there for 3 days before Zach Bagans and them actually
Okay.
arrive. That
Yeah.
their B-roll people are there on site shooting just random creepy things and just
Interesting.
to fill in the episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't envy them because I know it's not entertaining, and I've sat in enough basements and attics for hours on end with nothing but bats flying around. Or
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a sweet gig. Like, oh, we got another creepy location. We want to go there and shoot for 3 days, and you're just shooting scenery or shooting the house, or let's set this creepy doll there and flash this light.
yeah. And
That looks creepy.
Well, and if they're there, chances are something's going on. If there have been enough reports from family
Right.
and whatever, there's a kernel of truth there.
And you got to be the first ones to go in before
And
you're
then
the guy.
have to record it. And I know for experience that I can have all kinds of experiences. The minute I turn my recorder
Yeah.
on, they stop. So yeah, it wouldn't be an easy gig, but I think it's just the fact that those shows caught on the way they did.
Yeah, what was the first one? It was like Ghost
Hunters.
Yeah, Taps.
Yep.
Or like that. So
And that was
like,
back in Rhode Island, and I was living
they were
in
like a
New
legit
England.
group, right?
Yeah.
Before they
It was
got the
just-
show, right?
Yes. Yeah. They had the group, and they did a lot of the same places that my group did, because we were kind of working at the same time in New England. So
Did you ever go to the Conjuring House?
no, but you know what? My son, after he got married, they lived in Harrisville, and Harrisville is this tiny little speck in the middle of nowhere. And so it always kind of makes me wonder if I had known then, when he was living down the road, wouldn't it have been fun to go down there? And
Apparently you can now. The owners that own it now are letting people.
did you know that they're selling it? It's on the
Are they?
market right now.
Really?
Yep, for $1.2 million
Yeah, they're trying to capitalize off that.
off of the and
The legend and the lore
woman
and
the previous owner had such bad experiences with people coming to check out the place after the movie came out that she was disgusted, and she sold it for like $460,000, I think. Now this couple came in and bought it for that, had it for a couple of years, and they're selling it for $1.2 million. So there's money to be made. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with the Lizzie Borden house. All of these places where these horrific things happen. I'm guilty of this. I
Right.
know that I'm going to find something at these places.
Right.
But at the same time, I think people are kind of taking advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
well, that would be it's trying to sell it for 1.2 million.
Well, yeah. And they'll get it.
They will.
And
So
Lizzie
because
Borden's
somebody
house
like
just
us that
sold.
has the money is going to come along and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. I don't know. I mean, I know the movies, were like a far stretch of anything that happened there. But I don't know if I'd want that house.
Why would you? Why would you want to live if there's that much negative
That
energy?
much.
And this
There's got to
is what-
it's like a portal there or something.
Yeah, and I don't think that the entity that they have experienced there is I don't think it's ever been
A human.
a human. That's
Right.
kind of a
What
good
is it start? What's the name of it? I forget. They call it a name. I swear it starts with like a K or something.
Oh, I wonder. I don't
You ever listen to a podcast called The Grave Talks?
know, but I'm going to be
You-
taking a trip, and I wanted a podcast for my car.
You could listen to this one, but
Oh, that's on the list. Yeah.
yeah, no, this one is all paranormal. It's The Grave Talks, and so they'll pick like a lot. Lately, it's been like a lot of investigators. So, investigator will come on and they'll
Okay.
talk for. I pay $5 a month to get the extra, like 20 minutes of the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But it'll be anywhere from like 25 to 45 minutes. And like, or like the earlier ones he'd pick out, like the Lizzie Borden house.
Okay.
And then they'd go through like stories of like the person that owns it calls in.
Okay.
And then they talk about the house, or like the Waverly house, or just all kinds of things, and investigators and psychics and
that
stuff
sounds
like that.
It's right up my
Yeah,
alley.
oh yeah, it is. I listen to it every week because he comes out with
That's
one
very
every week,
cool.
two times a week. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. He has a new episode.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to
the
check
Grave
that out.
Talks. He also has another one called Real Ghost Stories Online, and that's one where just people call in and they tell them
Their experiences. And
their
stuff.
ghost story.
Their ghost story.
He'll comment a little bit and then on to the next person.
Interesting.
Yeah, he lives. Where does he live? I think he said he lives in Arkansas now, but they're from Wisconsin, from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Is where
I've
he's
heard
from.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good podcast, especially for paranormal stuff, because he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely will have to look for that.
Jim Harold too does one. Something about it says campfire in it, but it's like stories around the campfire. It's got like some campfire playing, and people call in and tell their stories, and he'll comment on it too.
I like that.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a really long time as well. So I kind of stick to those ones. You know, people have been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, like they've heard it all.
Yeah.
You know, like the guy from Grave Talks, he has a theory about bunk beds. He has a lot of people call in and say that they have like a haunted bunk bed every time.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, he said they used to on the
35
show. He said he had a bell, and they actually sent it out to their Patreon people that pay the $5 or $10 a month.
Oh.
Like this bell is called a bunk bed bell. Every time somebody bring up a bunk bed, he'd hit the bell because it happened so much. It'd be like they'd be talking about this haunting in their house, and then eventually it would come out like, well, we did get this bunk bed. Like,
now this is going to
2
keep me
months ago.
awake at night, thinking, why?
Yeah, that's what he's like. He's like, I don't know if there's some bunk bed factory where they're just placing, like pentagrams in these things on the line or what. But yeah,
But it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's bunk beds.
Well, I'm glad I don't have any in my house then. So.
When we got our bunk bed, yeah, we got one. I said, oh my God, I hope that this doesn't create the haunting even worse that we might have here. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. I never heard of that either, though.
That's a new one to me. Definitely.
So I wanted to bot back on the group thing again, though. So you started the group like 8 years ago, you said? Or 9 years ago?
This has been like...
Or 15.
Well, I started here in Michigan. Yeah,
The
MPE.
group. Yeah, the group.
I did that like 15 years ago. And,
15 years.
I think I've had the Facebook group for maybe 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So, and we do investigations at places that are just local in Allegan.
Yeah.
And
What's the other one in Allegan?
the old jail museum.
The old jail.
Yeah, that's always really active.
And is there like a manor or something manor, or is that the bar that you were talking about?
No, that's
Because you have one of those
the
coming
Robinson
up here.
Manor.
The Robinson Manor.
But that used to be the Robinson Hospital, so it's an old
Okay.
hospital, and then
Oh,
it was
okay.
an Elks Lodge, and so now it's an event center, and they're trying to restore it and kind of get it.
Is
back
there
in
anything
shape.
else that happens in there besides these investigations?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
during COVID, I think they got the whole main floor redone, and it looks great. And so they would have like grad parties,
okay.
wedding receptions. But I'm learning from historical societies and people that buy these older buildings that it's incredibly expensive to restore them. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's just, and so, we try to do the investigations like at the jail and stuff so we can give the historical society. They don't get funding from
Right.
anybody. It's all volunteer work and stuff like that.
That's
So
why a lot of people that do run or say they own a house that is known to be haunted and they let people come through, but they charge, a lot of that should, or a lot of the time does, go to them restoring the
Yes.
place to
Have
keep
you
it.
heard of what's it called, the Bruce Mansion?
Oh yeah, over on off that highway.
Yeah, they
Yeah, it's got the hearse that parks in
yes,
front of it.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and I know that they were very upset at first that people would stop and stare at this place, and it kind of
Well,
had a like history.
see, that has another side of it too that I was heavily involved with too, which was like urban exploring.
Yes,
See that got huge during COVID because they said get outside and everybody's not working and
exactly.
they've been like, oh, I want to go do this, just go do it.
Yeah.
So there's been like there's a page, I don't know if you follow on Facebook. It's like old abandoned
Yes,
interesting
I do
places.
follow that group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You'd almost see a picture of that Bruce Mansion almost every day.
I know.
and then
And they
and
get so
every time, oh, people would, but every time it'd have like 400 or 500 likes, and people like, I've never seen this before. Oh my gosh! Like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like,
I
what do you
know.
mean? It's posted every day.
Well,
Just about.
the interesting thing is the couple that purchased it and are fixing it up. They finally just embraced it. Like
Did they?
And they do offer tours.
Oh yes, I did see that they were starting to do
so
tours
I
now.
think that it ended up being either we just sit here and complain about this all the time about these people who are staring at our
Yeah.
house, or we invite them in and we charge them whatever.
Yeah, however amount of money to walk
to
through.
look through it, and if maybe some investigation, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is it even rumored or supposed to be haunted, or is it just one of those places that look
No,
like it
there-
should be?
I think there were actual events that took place
okay.
a long time ago, like a murder. And
Oh, okay, some
so
historical
it's got
events.
some
So
backstory to it, and that's why I always tell people how important it is to just take the time, research a place. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was started doing this, I would have to actually go to the library, go to the historical.
Right.
I couldn't just sit at home with my laptop and
Yeah.
search things.
I remember
So-
doing that for like in school projects, like
Well-
researching Kiss. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the library and get all these Kiss books,
I know. Well, and it's great. I mean, I like doing that, but I think so much of what you can find out about what happened in that place, like I've been kind of focusing on different haunted places through Michigan, and the thing that I was finding was that a lot of these old buildings were built in the late 1800s, some early 1900s, and back then it's like Prohibition had been passed, and it was a disaster because people still want to be able to drink,
right?
and people, so they were altering the product, and I mean the stuff they were doing to this alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy stuff. It was killing people.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
dropping like flies. And so this prohibition law that was meant to be, I always think of the women going up and down the street with their signs and alcohol kills,
Yeah. Now
stuff
it's killing
like that.
more.
And suddenly they had a huge problem because of this. But anyway, during Prohibition, everything was so unsettled. But in Michigan, we have all these waterways.
Right.
So the guys like Capone and the Purple Gang came into Michigan halfway between Chicago and Detroit, and they start moving their product up the Kalamazoo River, on the lakes up to Canada. It was rampant. And once you find out these things, along with the bootlegging and the speakeasies, inevitably, I guess they go hand in hand, but there'd be prostitutes there. So
Oh, yeah.
they'd have an on-site brothel. So all of this stuff just made this perfect storm. And so that, like, I think of it as like a 30-year period when these buildings saw a lot of that kind of activity. They're haunted as hell.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
with crazy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
then you start to be able to link up things. Like, why is a place haunted?
Yeah.
Does it always have to be because somebody's murdered? Well, no, if somebody's murdered, they didn't do anything wrong. Chances are they'll just move on.
And that's where you could also have your residual hauntings too,
Yes.
where they're not
Yes.
even really there. It's just repeating the same events over and over
Because
again,
the
which would be
energy-
like kind of like Gettysburg.
Yes, my favorite place.
I'm sure there is a lot of just residual
There is.
energy, residual hauntings.
That's
just,
most of what it is in Gettysburg.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I've never been, but I would imagine that's what it would be.
You have to go because
Yeah.
that has a feeling to it unlike any other place I've ever been to. And I've gone to a lot of places and it's palpable. I mean, the minute I come close to that battlefield, I start to pick it up. I mean, I smell gunpowder. And the only reason I know what that smells like is that I come from a family of hunters. So I was real familiar with the smell. And but there's no one shooting there. It's a national park, and
Right.
or you could smell campfire smoke, or
right.
and it
And
just
that's
lasts a second, But
What was that?
yeah, but that means to me that would say that that's something paranormal because those smells never last long.
Yeah,
They're
and why
just
is it
quick.
there?
Yeah, but
know?
you're right. It's a residual phenomena that occurs
It's
in
not
places
like
that.
It's not like when you're walking downtown Chicago and you get a hint of sewage and you're like, oh, where did that come from? Oh,
doesn't
I
go
think
away.
I know.
I know. It's so true.
We were just there this past weekend, and we stayed at the Congress Hotel.
Really?
Yeah, that's the one that-
supposedly really haunted. I've never stayed.
That's the one where like Capone stayed. I guess he stayed on like that. People supposedly see him a lot on the 8th floor, and then the 10th floor is supposed to be really haunted. And we got stuck on 9th. I was like, right in between, because this was a last minute booking too. We didn't know where else we would have planned, because apparently 441 is the most haunted room there. And apparently a lot of people experience, like, there's a lady that comes and kicks your bed.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say happens.
Yeah.
There's a lady that appears in that room and will kick the end of your bed to where your bed will move.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We didn't experience anything. I slept like a baby that night while we were there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't experience anything. It was, I'm not going to say that there's not stuff that goes on there,
Yeah,
because
but it's not 100% of
No.
the time.
no, yeah, you can't
It's just like catching
yeah.
something in a photograph. I always say, you've got a shot. If you
That's what I did.
taking
I took
a
some
picture-
pictures
Yeah,
randomly.
that's what
We
I
walked in,
would've
like
done.
we walk in. I'm like,
yeah, I do
it's
that all
like
the
you're gonna
time.
catch them by surprise or
I
something.
know.
Like, yeah, right.
Well, and I think that's what happened with this one.
Do you
was
think that was a
after
surprise?
Everybody left, and supposedly there was nobody left, and that's when I took the picture, and
Yeah.
that just happened to be at that right second. That it's a crapshoot. You
It
never
is a
know.
crapshoot.
You just, and chances are you're not going to get anything paranormal in your photographs, but at least for
People-
me, the chance that I might fascinates me. So
That's
I
why
tend
we
to take
stayed
a
at
lot of
that
pictures.
hotel. I was like, we're not going to get the room we want, but
But
let's stay there.
That hotel has been around forever.
Oh,
so
it's crazy inside
yeah.
too. Like, it looks great.
boy.
Like the first floor, and then it's just, I was taking like video just of the floor and everything.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go there.
Yeah,
It's
you,
not like it's
you book in
far.
advance. It's not even that expensive. I think
Yeah.
our room was only like $150.
Oh, that's not bad for
Yeah.
Chicago.
For Chicago, yeah, at some nice hotel,
Right.
Because the room was actually pretty nice too. They tried to keep it old,
Yeah.
but like the bathroom looked redone.
Modern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got like a modern piece of furniture in there,
Okay.
but your room still has the old door there where it's adjoining to the next room. And it still has all the old stuff. So they're not like going through and just gutting it, but
So
which
there,
I would rather that. I would rather them keep the old features.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. I prefer that and the old ones to be like
yeah.
going back to that period in time.
Yeah,
So,
you're gonna have to deal with a more hard bed, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I like my bed real like squishy. Do you like a firm bed or like one that like hugs you?
Well, I have a pillow that kind of hugs me. So I have one of those U-shaped pillows, and that just feeling that weight on either side, that helps me sleep better than anything else.
If only you could start sleeping better at night, because you
Yes.
are always awake at night.
Yes, I'm always awake at night. It's crazy.
Well, that's why I was telling my wife too. I said, well, what we want to do, as we're talking about like trying to book something way in advance to get that room. I was like, well, we're gonna be up all night.
Yeah.
You
Well,
gotta be.
why sleep through it if
Yeah.
you're getting that haunted room?
Yes.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think that just plan on it.
Yeah.
Get it, and then take a nap during the day.
Yes.
And then
To prepare.
Yeah.
And then I'll just keep the camera on like night vision the whole time.
Yep. Keep
Even
a recorder going too,
Yep.
because I've set out recorders at night in haunted hotels and places, and can pick up some very cool things. And
so do you think with like the nature of like COVID and all that, and like the pandemic and everything that's been going on, do you think that's like really heightened everything as far as
Yes.
paranormal?
yeah, I feel like the expression is like thinning of the veil between this world and the next. But I just think that it was such a hard time for us that we were getting a lot of help from the other side. So yes, I noticed a difference in a lot of increased activity.
And just increased, yeah, and just everybody else's energy is just
Yes.
been increased, which has to be intensifying it.
Well, and I think people were finding that working from home and spending a lot of time in their homes, they were
Yeah.
noticing things that they never noticed that were going
Right, that's
on
a
in
good
the
point.
house. So
Like how their husband or wife was actually a complete asshole.
yes, the best of the best came out in all of us for that year. So yeah,
Like, why am I with this person? Was it because of work? I mean,
I know a lot of people say
yeah,
that
a lot of that happened a lot
can
too.
make you or break you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely think just the whole world
Yeah.
is heightened.
Yes.
Especially with like how many people are hating on other people now with the
It's awful.
with the vaccine and stuff, and you're an asshole if you
And
don't
not
take
just
it, you're an
that,
asshole
but-
if you do, and
Well, there's all these reports now of people beating each other up on planes. Like, when did we become this? That we break a stewardess's teeth out by punching her in the mouth, probably because she brought you the wrong drink or
Oh.
whatever. I mean, I don't remember people ever being this confrontational and angry.
right.
Just anger.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just a huge black cloud, it seems like.
But maybe it's not good to have a little wake-up call sometimes to make us realize what we really have and appreciate the good times. I mean, we're so privileged in this country that
Oh,
we
yeah.
have no idea what the real world is like.
Right.
So
That's why I go kick my ass for 3-4 days out in the Porcupine Mountains.
it's.
I get done, I get to the car, I'm like, oh, wheels.
Well, and I have this vision of your hammock twisting around in a tornado and like the Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
just disappearing.
I was lifting up a little bit
Oh,
underneath when the wind was blowing. It was kind of lifting me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And to think before that, we were more worried about being like bear ping pong. Like
Oh,
what if
yeah.
a bear, they're hitting our hammock, like we keep swinging like
Or
for a little
cougar.
taco.
You see a cat
Yeah.
playing like that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I've never seen a bear though. I've never seen a cougar. I mean, odds are you're never going to see a bear. They're more scared of you.
I think so too.
That's
Yeah.
why like a lot of people will carry bear bells. They'll have like just like almost like sleigh bells, or like
Yeah?
they'll
To
have it on their
scare them
pack.
away?
So when they're coming around a corner, that bear will already clearly hear you coming because of
Right.
those bells, and they're going to take off.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because they don't really want to see you either.
No, they don't. You've got to. I always think that I'm a little nervous, especially when there's a mother bear with her cubs, because they
Oh,
are
yeah.
so crazy protective, and understandably so. But
I would be fearful if I ran across some cubs.
yeah,
'Cause
and my
the mom
son
is
did
not.
jogging one day. He saw the cubs going up the tree, and he was going for a run. And I said, he said, I just turned right around
Yeah.
and had, because mom's right there.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, even if
Yeah.
you can't see her, she's there.
She's there.
Within
and she knows
earshot.
you're there. Yeah, that makes me really
You remember
nervous.
that one video that went viral with the guy with the that was backing up with the cougar that was following him? Because
Yes.
he ran across the cubs, and then
Yes.
it was, and then it would just occasionally just and then come like really close,
Yeah.
like batting.
And he would back up some more. Yeah.
That was intense.
Yes, definitely.
That dude better be counting every lucky star.
Yes.
If there is guardian angels, he definitely had all of them there.
He had a full troop. Yeah, I agree.
Is that something you believe is in guardian angels
I do. And I really believe we have guides too, because,
and guides?
yeah, that, I don't think we're just put down here and left to make it on our own. I think we've got a lot of support if we just ask for it. So I also think we have family that are in spirit that come around us, maybe just on a holiday or a baptism or a certain birthday with our children.
Yeah.
I think that they come and visit. So that does,
Right.
I really feel strongly about that. And that's one of those things that I could never prove that, but
No.
but I just have this knowledge that that they're there.
Yeah.
And then I learned to listen for particular voices, and they are distinguishable from others.
So with the spirit box, so there's like a discussion that this guy, I feel so bad that I'm forgetting his name from the Grave Talks, but the host of it, he has
Okay.
this other guy come on a lot, and he says with the spirit boxes, what you basically have is like what's the word he uses? Kind of like operators.
Okay.
And like he says he's got like two operators. Like when he goes to investigate or click on his spirit box, he says one of their names is Mike. So he'll say, "Mike, are we all good?" And it'll come back, "Yes." And he thinks that people that are using these things, they all have some sort of like operator
Okay. That's for
that
them, right?
Yeah, that's for them and
Yeah.
listens to their conversation and connects them with who they want to be connected to.
That kind of makes sense to me.
So every time you like click on that box, you're going to have one of these two operators that come
Yeah.
and help you with your communication to the other side.
Well, I've heard
I thought that was
things
interesting.
come off of out of spirit boxes that absolutely could not be explained away. I mean, but it just goes back to my point that I think spirits, they will go to extraordinary lengths to connect with us. That's really important
Right.
to them. And if they think that there's a way that they can do it, especially with like an energy that they might be more familiar and might be an easier way for them to manipulate things. There was a phone app quite a while back, maybe 8 or 9 years, and everybody was just laughing because they thought it was so hokey. And I think it Ghost Radar, like
Radar?
the first edition of it. And I was somewhere out near Detroit with 3 other people that were doing a paranormal thing with me. And I had my phone out on the table and I said, I'm going to turn on Ghost Radar. And it shows you where the ghost is. You see a
Really?
little white spot. And
Really?
so, but it also would bring up words, like
Right.
print words. So we're sitting there, and the guy that was to my left said, I've got a horrible headache, and we still have the whole night ahead of us. And the woman sitting across from him, to my right, said, "Oh, here, I've got some Motrin capsules in my purse. I'll give you a couple." And so she did, and he took them. Do you know that I looked down at that hokey dorky little Ghost Radar and it said "Pass Orange Medicine"? Like,
Whoa.
so it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't.
Right.
And people that are so skeptical of most types of equipment, I don't think they fully appreciate that. That they use these things. They really ultimately want to make that connection, and they'll do whatever they can to do it. So
if the belief of that they're going to do what they can to communicate, anything should be kind of suffice.
yeah, especially if like maybe they do have some unfinished business.
Right.
Maybe there's a message that they feel they really need to get across, or they just want, some of them want a little help getting oriented and knowing where to go or what's going on. So I can see why they try to connect
Right.
with us. I mean, in their position, I would probably do the same thing.
So you mentioned earlier about how, kind of gathering up haunted places and stuff like that. But you recently, is it done now? Your book
It's
is
being
it
copy edited
being
now.
copy
so,
edited
yeah.
now, and it's going to be called what again?
Hauntings, Spirits, and Eats, Michigan.
In Eats,
And Eats. So
Michigan.
it's based on locations that are haunted, 1st and foremost, but that you can spend a night, get a good meal, go to a bar, have a drink,
like a travel guide
Yes.
to the haunted places.
Exactly.
It kind of sets you up for your day or
Yeah.
weekend there.
You can kind of
Like you
plan
can go
your
here,
itinerary
yeah,
if that's what
around
you're
this
into.
book. John, if you go to the Facebook and then you click on messages, I messaged myself the post that she made so we can bring it up on the screen whenever you can get it up there.
So yeah, that's been it's such an interesting experience. I mean, I just had the coolest experiences because I went into each place wondering
So
if
each
if there
place
was anything
on in this book you've been.
most of them.
Most of them
Yeah, there were some that I didn't
that were
wasn't able
submitted
get
to you. Or was that were those ones
Well,
that
no,
were?
I just researched them and oh yeah, there's the
Is this the one? Yeah, there it is. We want
Yeah.
the cover there. Yeah, there we go. Cool.
So yeah, so it's been really interesting.
I can't believe I missed Eats.
Oh,
I was like, that's why I said Eats. I thought it
There's
was
so
Haunting
many haunted
Spirits in Michigan,
restaurants.
but Eats, Michigan. Yeah.
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 So, but I'll tell you, one book doesn't begin to cover the stuff in the state.
Oh no.
Oh wow, I'm thinking, are we talking about 4 books? I mean,
Yeah.
it's but I get an opportunity, and I have had experience in a lot of them, that it's just that experience for me has made this so much fun. It really has. Michigan's
Yeah.
loaded
It is.
haunted places. Yeah.
How many places have you gone investigate where were just like completely abandoned, like abandoned,
Totally empty. Like
just abandoned building? Kind of. Have you ever gone into an abandoned building you're not really supposed to be there and just do a little investigating?
maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But my mind immediately went to an old farmhouse that I did investigate, but we had the permission of the owner.
Well,
They
getting
built-
permission's always the best, but
Well,
you're just like,
but
I
no,
wonder
but
if this
there's
place.
Stuff, of course. I mean, I do that all
You
the
ever
time.
been to Northville, psychiatric hospital in Detroit?
No. Is it?
Yeah, there's the only building that is gone on this complex is the high rise. So there used to be a big high rise building there,
Yeah.
and they tore that down. That's where all the patients were kept.
Oh, okay.
All the other buildings are still there. The auditorium, the gymnasium, the bowling alley. They had like 2 bowling lanes, and their like arts department. All
Yeah.
of the schoolhouse rooms. Everything. Go to my YouTube page, John, and then click Northville Part 1. We'll just show a little bit, but yeah,
Is it heavily patrolled? I mean, during the day?
people say you get caught there, but they probably enter from the road. So
Okay, yeah,
I mean,
there are
here's your
ways.
101 guide on getting there. You go to there is
Anyways, we
there
had the little maze.
there is a apartment complexes. So if you go to
Okay.
if you Google map it, you'll see like a bird's eye view. You see the place here. There's apartment complexes over here. You park here, and then you'll see little trails that dip off into the woods. And then there's actually a trail system back there, where you can it's an actual trail.
Are there underground
Tunnels.
tunnels
Yes.
and rooms, like even like a fallout
They're creepy.
shelter or something?
There's underground tunnels, but each one they've been like imploded at the end.
Oh,
So you
okay.
end up coming
Yeah.
upon a dead end. They used to connect. All of the buildings used
and
to
I
connect.
think that's pretty common for institutional buildings like that.
Just go to playlist. go to season 2. I think this is it. Yeah. Northville Psychiatric Hospital. Yep. Yeah, here's like the gym.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that's really sort of in the middle of a wooded area, right? Really,
Everything is
enclosed.
overgrown
Okay.
around the whole complex. You can click a little farther into it.
Oh, so that's a tunnel?
This is the bowling alley.
Oh,
There's 2
okay.
lanes right there.
Yeah, I can see it now.
That's
that
my
I'm
other
looking at
buddy's camera. So you get both angles. He's walking down.
it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now there was now John, if you kind of scan the go kind of towards the middle. Yeah. Back just a little bit. Keep going right there. Play it from right here. This was our paranormal experience while we were there.
Okay.
It's maybe a minute in here. We'll see. We'll just let it play. Yeah, right here. Nope. Yeah, here. We walk through this room.
Gotta poop.
Was it behind him or?
You just hear that?
What,
Sounded like a
where
door
was
shut.
it coming?
So I replay it.
Yeah.
That was his camera. The first one was mine. You can just let it go, John. That and it caught it on both cameras.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to get two that will back each other up.
Yeah.
is-
And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I clearly heard something." Yeah.
Dinner is served.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you can get out of this now, John. Enough self-promotion, but
But those old abandoned asylums and
Yeah.
hospitals just.
there's
are-
one in Three Rivers too.
I've been wanting to go down there and see that one because somebody was telling me about it and I hadn't been there. The other one that I've been checking out recently is the old Poor Farm location in Comstock and Galesburg. So it was the Kalamazoo County Poorhouse.
Okay, yeah.
So it was, of course, torn down, but the people are still buried there in
Yeah,
the
that's
woods,
still got
right next to the dog park, right?
Oh, the dog park.
Yeah. So I always.
another water or anything?
No, I think I'm still good. Thanks.
Yeah. That poor farm, poor house, that's going to have some just
Yes.
crazy
Because
energies.
generally it was like young women that were pregnant but weren't married, and they would, cart them off there,
Yeah, or
or poor, but it was mentally ill people.
mentally ill people would be shipped to a poorhouse.
Yes,
A
exactly.
lot. Because they didn't want to deal with them.
Well, and not just that, but if you think about that period of time, like the late 1800s, there were no treatments for mental illness.
No,
We had
there was nothing.
And so,
TB was treated by get you outside.
and exercising.
Fresh air.
Yeah.
Fresh air. That'll cure.
Let's put all these people together because we know now that it's a bacteria that it's spread, right? And
Yeah.
so we shouldn't be surprised that these places treated people horribly. They had no tools to use to treat a schizophrenic person or
Right.
or anybody like dementia, all of the things that they would just shove you off to an asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, a husband could commit his wife.
Yeah, they could. It was
Yeah.
so easy
Yes.
for them to do that, too.
That's scary.
It is. And that happened very frequently, where you'd have perfectly sane women inside these insane asylums, and there's
Yes.
nothing really wrong. And then they go insane.
Yes, because
Because
of
they're there.
Yes, that's very true.
That was very common.
Yeah, and then when it came time that they started finding treatments for both TB and for mental illness, they closed these humongous institutions down, and these people were out on the streets. They had never, a lot of them, really lived on their own and had to cope. They would give them their medications in a bag up at Traverse City, the old hospital
Yeah.
up there. They literally put them out on the street with their medication and locked the doors. And there were patients that had been there so long. Apparently, our tour guide told us that there was one older man who worked in the barn and took care of the animals. Every day, he'd come back and sit on the step, even though the place was abandoned and locked up. But that's what he knew.
Right.
So that causes a lot of, conditions that lend themselves to paranormal activity,
Yeah.
whether it's residual or otherwise. I don't know.
You got to check out the Three Rivers Hospital, though. You got to check that out.
And that's not far from me.
No. John, okay, another plug. Bring it up because I have some evidence on that one I
wanna
want to
see
show
what
you,
it
too.
looks like. I wouldn't know it if I saw it.
So I
either.
think it was, if you just go back, it was like right. Actually, this one's season 1. So go back another one. Yeah. Right. Season 1 to the left there. Boom. And I think it's the last episode. Yeah, this one was crazy. This one freaked us out. We kind of left after this one. Yeah, right there. Abandoned Hotel, episode 6. Yep. And this is going to be near the end. This place is like completely blown out. There's not a lot left. Yeah, go all the way towards the end. Yeah, keep doing that. Right there.
Like that's
Back
not
up.
just to keep people out.
Back up.
Okay,
Right
so that's
there.
the main door.
I always try to have 2 cameras so you got 2
That's
views.
a good idea.
Right here. Eric. Not that.
No. Okay.
There was 3 steps towards us that we both clearly heard.
I thought I heard a whisper too. I don't.
I
know
think
if
that was me.
Okay.
Can you pause it, John? Yeah, and if you just rewind it back just a little bit. Yeah, that'll be good. But yeah, what we heard before you play it, what we heard is when we're walking around, Eric's in front of me. And he's
Okay.
walking, and he turns this corner. And I'm like here's the corner. He's looking down, and I'm just going around the other corner. And he hears that. And I hear the last one, the really loud, but he heard the first 2. I didn't hear the first 2. I just thought he stepped on something.
Oh yeah. Well, that.
But he turned around. He said, "No, let's go." I was like,
Oh really?
"Okay, let's go." It's pitch black in there, so I'm leaving too. So then when I got home, as I'm going through the footage, that's when I heard,
You heard the other ones.
yeah, like, and it was getting closer to us. That's what creeped us out.
Whenever something is heading for you and you can't see it, that is not a
Yeah.
comfortable feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Forward. No. Yeah, later in the video. It's like 28 or 20. Keep going. Right there. Right around in there somewhere. Yep, actually this is it right
That's
here.
it. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, click there. Because, yeah, we were here at night. This is the corner he turns on the left. That was him saying shh.
Okay.
Oh,
Isn't that something?
like that was loud.
That was really loud.
And it sounded like somebody stepping on rubble, you know?
It was.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what it was.
That's-
That's what it was to us.
wow. What's interesting to me is what was your physical reaction when that was taking place, other than, being startled by this sound. Did you feel any difference in like the atmosphere, or the air around you, or anything?
The whole atmosphere in the place was creepy.
The whole thing.
The whole time I was there, I was creeped out. I'm going through the place we're filming because we just, a lot of this evidence that like I captured along the way is accidental because our main focus for when we were doing these series on abandoned buildings was just the buildings and just how cool they were and what was left inside. We always liked finding cool things. Like we were down in Detroit at this old osteopathic hospital.
Yeah.
And there was like one of those baby incubators still in there. One of the old ones. It's just there on the ground. It just looks so creepy. But it's very cool to like see. So that was our main focus. So when I'd capture stuff like this, I'm like, this is like legit to me because I wasn't even trying.
Yeah.
I was like, when we were at the psychiatric hospital, we're just walking through to get to this other area. And I'm like, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also know that as far as you're concerned, there was nobody else in there. You know that, and you know that it was you and the other guy that was with you. So
yeah, especially at that hospital because there's nobody else in that. But we were at that hospital when it was still daylight, taking outside shots,
and
we
just got dark.
We were waiting because there was somebody down there in a parking lot. I didn't know what they were doing, but. We're not just going to waltz in. You can see, we waited till it got dark and then we dipped inside.
Oh, wow.
Just to look at the rest. Yeah, it was like I said, it was blown out in there.
But you really believe that there is energy that's left that you pick up in these places, whether you're specifically looking for it or not. So it is there.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, say like with that Northville, it's there. It's just dour, some of the buildings you walk in, you're just like, and you can't figure out why. And you're just like, well, maybe. And then you get out and you're kind of like, all right, let's go to the next place. Let's go to the next building. Jeez. But yeah, what a trip, to walk around there. When you, like I said, you go through that little trail and then all of a sudden you'll start seeing like a tub way out in the the grass. You're like, oh, we're getting closer. And then you'll see this broken up gate that you can just walk right through. And then you come up on this, you'll look to the left and there's like this grass hill. You get up on top of the grass hill and then you'll start to see the buildings. And you're like,
oh, okay.
You get you're like, yeah, let's go, let's do this.
Do you feel that with time that nature just kind of takes over these
yeah,
things? Like
it does. It's so cool.
Yeah. They get absorbed almost, it feels like.
Yeah. And you're inside and you see some little plant growing inside the building, and these through this tile that's, you're just, I don't know, you take a picture.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm filming all that stuff.
Pictures. That's important.
Yeah. Where it's like, I was looking for an excuse to use my camera too. I'm like, I want to use my camera to film stuff. Yeah. So we start going out there and
you don't know how long those buildings will be around either.
Right.
I mean, eventually they will probably be torn down. And
maybe. I think they tore down the high rise because it was an eyesore. Because from the road,
you can't see it.
From the road, you can't see any of those buildings because of the brush and everything is
so
overgrown.
If it's not an eyesore, and
what's the point of them wasting the money and demolishing it all?
Yeah, for nothing.
Right.
So yeah.
But speaking of evidence, we have a couple more pictures here of some other things that you were.
Yeah. Well, this was in. Trying to think if it was Rhode Island or Connecticut. And should I just leave it here?
Yeah, we can slide it up here and John can switch to.
Okay. And it was an investigation that I was on of this family cemetery. It was a lot of family cemeteries are up there in New England. And we had heard stories, and it's well documented that the backstory for this cemetery was there was a family that had a house adjacent to the cemetery, and their daughter, now I don't know if she had mental problems or what, but she set the house on fire. Her house, her family's home, and everybody perished in the fire. And so she was taken and put away because she was treated as being mentally ill. And so people talk about seeing lights there at night when it's on the edge of a huge Catholic cemetery. But this is off to the side.
It's a
got
separate
trees
cemetery.
Separate, yep, little, small, with a rock wall around it. So I always try to take a lot of pictures because you want to substantiate or validate what you get.
Right.
And my youngest daughter here was with me, and I went back and looked at the pictures, and I knew I had been here so many times. And at the opening, there's
Here, I'll
two
grab it so I can see it. What you're talking about here.
vertical stones, like for the gate. There used to be an iron gate there.
Oh,
So
you're right.
can you see the opening
Yep.
there? So I looked back and I thought, there's not a third vertical pillar there. What is that?
Right.
And so I just knew the place so well. I knew that wasn't supposed to be there. So I went back and
Oh, yeah.
I took, blew up the picture, and it looks like a girl in profile, kind of looking upwards, maybe
Here we
with
go,
her
John. We'll
hands.
slide that one over.
Yeah, like with her hands clasped to her chest, looking out. And
Yeah,
she,
that is kind of how it looks.
Yeah, and they found her dead in that cemetery, draped over her mother's grave. So nobody knows how she was killed, but they don't think that it was exposure. They're just not sure. So that
Right.
was the whole mystery, and the hauntings seemed to center around this young woman. And I thought, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get a definite picture of a full-bodied apparition.
Yes.
They just don't happen. But this one was as close for me to really looking at it seriously as being like an apparition capture rather than
Before this? Or would you say that?
this now.
This now.
was way before that, yeah.
Yeah, this was before this.
Thing,
Yeah,
I
this
just
is
don't know what to-
this is crazy right
Yeah,
here.
I
This
don't
is
know what to do with that
yeah.
one. But
yeah,
she-
that is
it just fit with what and if we hadn't done the research, we wouldn't have known that, possibly there was a young woman that was
Right.
involved. So, yeah. And then this one, there's a bed and breakfast down in Key West. It's great. It's amazing. And it's got a very haunted reputation. So, of course, that's where I stay when
Yeah,
I go down
right.
there. And I got to know the innkeeper, and he knew that I was into the ghost thing. And so he said, I have to tell you a story. And I said, okay. He said, well, we had some people that were in here earlier in the week, and it was a couple, and they checked in, but they went out to dinner and then came back and went to bed. And I guess in the morning, just pre-dawn hours, where it's still kind of more dark than light,
right.
but he could sort of make out things in the room, the husband, when he woke up. And he looked over, and his wife was sitting at the dressing table with this big round mirror. I know exactly which piece of furniture he was talking about. And his wife was brushing her hair. And so as he's coming more awake, and it's getting a little bit brighter in the room, his elbow bumps into his wife, who's
Oh, no.
sleeping next to him in bed, right? So he looks right back at the figure who's still there, except she turned around and looked at him and went, like that.
No
Now that
way.
is an intelligent haunting. That is
Yes.
not anything that's residual. So it's supposedly the wife of the man who built the house. And there's a whole long story. You might want to Google it. It's Morero's guest mansion down in Key West. So
Okay.
the stories are very cool. So in her room, she had a room, and she had 8 children. So her room kind of abutted the nursery, which is in the front of this bed and breakfast. And another person who came to stay took this picture. I want you to see it first. But can you see how a skirt is starting to materialize down? I guess you can't call it a full-bodied apparition because it's not a full
Right.
body. But again, you've got the slight blurring, which, happens in my experience when there is something
Right.
paranormal going on there. And they said that they just took that picture because the atmosphere in the bedroom changed. And this was the woman's bedroom, the original
You can totally
owner.
tell, like, with the blurring effect there
Yeah,
again, too.
it's just like, and it was kind of like she was pulling herself together and kind of starting to materialize.
Right.
So that place was very cool because you really could see a lot of what happened. Now, the people that were there that took the picture were not in any way connected to searching paranormal places.
Right.
They were just something weird and they snapped the pictures. So, and that's the dressing table with the mirror there that the other people. So a lot of
So
activity
creepy.
takes good in that room. Yeah. So yeah, that was very fun.
Yeah, that would be. You see that, and then you bump into your wife.
Exactly. And it
whoa.
takes a second. Like he said, he had to process that mentally to say, well, she can't be here and there because he's still not fully
Right.
awake. So yeah, I thought why can't we film those things? Why don't we just-
Exactly.
why
That's what
is
Neil
that?
says. That's what Neil says. Where's those pictures?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we still keep looking. We do.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that place was a fun place to stay.
And it's it's encouraging with the more and more ghost programs that you got ghostly encounters, you got all kinds of
yeah.
knockoffs of the originals going on, and it's I think it's encouraging though, because the more and more it does get out there that this is a thing, maybe the more and more it'll get taken seriously.
Yes.
And more like actual, like, well, I can't say actual, that's like a wrong word to use, but more like you get more of these engineers and these scientists like
That are going to look at it differently.
they're like, okay, let's look into this maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Instead of just
To do
blowing it
that.
off.
Yeah. And it's like with anything else. I think that comes with time and with exposure, which, we have both now since the 80s when I was doing this. So it does make a difference if, now, like I said, with my husband being a scientist and
Yeah.
everything has to be proven and redone, even at this point, finally at this point in our lives, he can't totally blow it off,
Right.
Because he's seen things and
Too much things.
heard things. And yeah, exactly. So I think he's still not going to tell you that he's a real big believer, but I
Right.
know he looks at things differently now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you not?
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think one of the biggest questions that we should have, or we do have, is why are we here?
Yes.
And why not try to understand the other side of that, to put
Yeah.
two together of why we are here.
Yes.
Why is that other side of when you die not taken any sort of seriously at all
Yeah.
in the scientific world? Like, if
Right.
you're trying to figure out why we're here, let's figure out what happens when we're gone, and that might give us a little more intel or answers to why we are here, or help us
Right.
in more of a direction to get to that
Yeah.
answer.
I think so too. And I don't know. I think that yes, people are starting to come around and they're being a little bit more open-minded. But at the bottom of it all, I almost feel like we're not supposed to be able to prove this.
Yeah.
I do, because I think that in order for us to do our best here and to learn from the experience that life hands us, we can't
Know what's gonna be
know
there.
for sure. We have the hope that it's there. It's like in the Bible. I'm not a really religious person, so I'm probably not really qualified to even say this, but I know that the word faith is used throughout so many times in the Bible. So we need to maintain that faith that this isn't all that there is. But if everybody knew that we could just come back again, how many people will say, well, I'm going to live it up this time?
Exactly.
And, and I'll just come back
if you
again.
knew that no matter what, it was all roses and gold streets.
Yes.
Why am I going to
Why
waste
would
my
you stay
time? Yeah,
here?
trying, because a lot of times being the good person or being a good person is harder than being the bad person,
Exactly.
and it's harder to
It
do.
is. That's
It's
what I'm
hard to
saying.
bite your tongue. It's hard to it is. It's
is.
very hard.
Yeah.
And what's the point if we're all going to end up at the same place anyways?
Yeah. That's kind of what I
So,
think. So
yeah.
I don't, of course, don't know if that's true, but I do think that could be it, because we have an awful lot of scientific capability now for analyzing things
Mm-hmm.
and capturing data and analyzing the data and all of that stuff. But we still never seem to hit this on the head. You know? We
Yeah.
don't. It eludes us. And so I just keep telling myself, you know, you're not going to change it either way. But it does. I do find that interesting that in all the years I've done this, we're no closer to proving it.
No.
No.
And and it's going to be a long time till we can,
Yeah, I think so, if ever.
if
you know?
ever.
Yeah.
This was a really fun time.
Yeah,
I
well,
think-
thank you.
I'm so glad that you came on.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed it. And I didn't realize that you were doing the paranormal stuff, you know, like,
Yeah.
not that that's what you were doing. with the
Accidental
buildings, but-
paranormal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my evidence, you know. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
and like I said, you know, having 2 cameras rolling and 2 people, we're not even there for that, and that stuff to happen it's crazy. Just like this thing. This is
Different, huh?
yeah.
I've
I'm
never
still going with armor and
still
some sort of.
seeing that?
I'm still seeing the armor and medallion. I'm
Which
still
goes with, you know, my feeling of a guardian presence, you know, like that would fit.
yeah.
And it would be much more likely that they would have that kind of material back in the past whenever
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe
Who
she's
knows?
always been there, but that's what keeps me coming back
It
because
yeah.
it just everything intrigues me. Every experience is different, and so
Every
it makes
answer leads to more questions.
You, yes,
There's always more questions. There's 5 questions to every one answer.
I know. So it takes people like us that have short attention spans.
Yeah.
it keeps us going.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we can just move on to the next one.
Yeah,
That's fine. Okay, well, that would dead end here. What about these ones?
Let's explore this avenue. That sounds good. You know,
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. Fun time.